All right. Salute, family. Tank Commander Zulu back at you once again. And the Real Man Movement supporting real woman wisdom. And I have, as usual, the Black Columbo, Drew in the house. And we need to talk about a subject, y'all, something that everybody don't want to talk about. You see it's kind of quiet, but we talking about the underground world of pedophilia.
Yes.
Pedophilia in plain sight, y'all. And we know that some of the things that's been going on in the news, if you keep up with the news, which we all should to some degree, you see what's going on in the area of pedophilia. People who have gotten away with it. We're looking right now, there's a 120 archdioceses of the Catholic Church who have been accused of pedophilia and still have not been brought to any kind of justice.
Yeah.
So today we're going to be talking about the underground world of pedophilia. In other words, we're talking about the pedos. Yeah, that's right. The pedos. We on their head. I don't care if they did it back in the 1800s. If you are a pedophile and you have ruined the life of a young man or a young woman, we're coming for you. And we're coming for the names that's been in the news. So before I go any further, let me go ahead and introduce the Black Columbo once again. True danger, brother. What you got?
Oh man, how's it going, guys? Thank you for having me on the show again, Tank Commander. I appreciate it as always. You know, we've got a situation here that has been around since time began, but the issue is that we haven't learned from the past mistakes. We haven't learned from the future mistakes or the mid-grade mistakes over the years because every person on this planet can name someone that has been molested by an adult, by a grown adult in some sort of pedophilic way. We all know.
We gonna call they're not grown adults, they are pedophiles.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's what we're going to call them. But we all know someone. Because if you think right now, Tank Commander, in 2 seconds, you can probably come up with maybe five,
Oh man.
maybe 10, maybe 15 names of just people that have gone through something, right? And I could do exactly the same.
Right. Right.
And this is a subject that people have not uh, made peace with in their lives, and they can never make peace with it because they're so damaged from those things that have happened to them, and they're so damaged from living from whatever age they were and then getting older and maybe having their own families. But there's always a lock on
Right.
their soul. That's what I call it, the lock
Mm-hmm.
on the soul, where you can't get free from it, and how you get free from it is a whole nother journey because I've been molested, unfortunately.
Okay.
Um, and I I could speak for myself, and then I could speak for a very close friend that I grew up with. And from those two perspectives, I can tell you from the perspectives that I know.
Right.
What I had to do was I went to counseling, and I really had to battle it out with counseling. I had to find myself, and this was something that didn't come up until I was 27.
Wow.
Okay, so I was 27, and I had hit it all those years because I didn't want to. Well, number one, when it happened, my parents really didn't, they were busy and they didn't really pay attention to the things of the time,
Right.
so, and I was just sitting there in it, not knowing how to deal with it or take it or what it meant because I was very young. I was like 7.
Right.
So I didn't really know. And then it was just kind of pushed further back into your brain, and hidden away. And actually, what did it was this. When I started doing investigations with Rick, It was right in the first year because I got married by 27. So like it was right in there at 27. Rick and we were in the car
Mm-hmm.
and he said, "Hey, I got something I need to, run by you." I said, "Yeah." And he said, "I need for you to understand what I'm getting ready to tell you." I said, "Yeah, whatever. I mean, you know how we've always been cool with each other. So, whatever you have to say, that's fine." And I said, "Yeah." He said, "A long time ago, something happened to you. And you know what I mean?" And he said, "Because you cannot tell me that you have lived your life, and I've known you for X amount of years, and
Mm-hmm.
I can tell that something really shook up your whole world, man." And
Right.
he's like, "What I'm saying is that you've been, somebody did something to you.
Right.
They molested you, something happened. What it is, I can't say because I don't know, but I can tell that something's happened."
Right. And
Like,
you
well,
kind of, you know what? Not to cut you off, brother, but
yeah.
in my experience that when I've run into people who have been molested,
Mm-hmm.
unbeknownst to me, I've never been molested, uh, but I have encountered a molester. And here's the
Okay.
thing, a pedophile.
Uh,
Now, because we're talking about pedophilia, and we're
right.
talking about how certain industries, organizations,
Yeah.
even in the church, even
Mm-hmm.
in other certain social structures,
Yeah.
pedophilia is hidden in plain view. And what
Mm-hmm.
made me like when we talked about this subject, Drew, the the situation concerning Afrika Bambaataa. I want to, and because Afrika Bambaataa
Mm-hmm.
is a strong figure in the hip hop culture, right?
Right.
So I want to bring this man up, this pedophile up, and I'm calling him a pedophile because here's where there's smoke, there's always fire. You might be called a lot of different things, but some things, you're not going to be called. You're not. Your name is not going to be associated with at all.
Right.
So, like, I wouldn't be associated with playing basketball. You won't never hear Tank Commander Zulu is a hell of a basketball player. No, because that's not gonna come nowhere around my name. But now we know that there, the situation with Afrika Bambaataa, a legend in the hip hop community, in the hip hop culture, and in parts of the hip hop community. Not a legend to me. He's a pedo, and this is why I'm gonna say this. There's a young man who came out. There's a couple of victims came out. A couple of Afrika Bambaataa victims who are now becoming men.
Right.
They have become men, and they've been growing up with this in the back of their mind, what was done to them by a pedophile who never had justice served to him. So today he gonna get justice. Every pedophile, your justice is coming. The justice is coming. So what Afrika Bambaataa did, and this guy named Hassan Campbell, and I normally don't watch, his channel that much, but it came across and we were talking. He was talking about how Afrika Bambaataa molested him when he was young.
Right.
Not only him, but a string of other children who were around what they called at the time the Zulu Nation, right? Now the problem I had with this, because many pedophile man, and they are hiding in plain sight, and the people who protect these pedophiles, you are just as damaged and deranged in your mind. Because if you know someone is a pedophile or has the propensity to do anything dangerous or sexual to a child, boy or girl, you need to be the first one to stop that.
Yeah.
You need to be the first one to call law enforcement, to have his or her, because women do it too. We're going to talk about that now. Women can molest too. But these men, some of these guys are just tucked away. Some of them are tucked away, like I said, archdiocese, 120 of them. 120, man? Come on, in the music industry. R. Kelly, what you
Yeah.
doing hanging out at high schools and you in your damn 20s and 30s? Pedophile. You got to call these people out for who they are and
That's
what they're
true.
doing. So the one thing that got to me about it was this particular story concerning Afrika Bambaataa, because the guy Hassan Campbell was saying he looked at him as a father. He didn't know at first. I mean, he's a young child. He don't know no better. So he was raped by Afrika Bambaataa, according to Hassan Campbell. That's what he said. He was raped as a boy, as a young boy. And he wasn't the only one who was raped. But now, as the years went on, they still had a relationship. Because here's the one thing with pedophilia. These pedophiles are remarkable brainwashers, remarkable to a young child. And sharing what you shared, you understand this, and I want everyone to understand that if you are a victim of pedophilia, that was never your fault. It was all the adults' fault. They were sick, twisted individuals. And if you were a man and it happened to you by a man, your manhood is not taken. It's just been violated. Like anything else, it's been violated. Nothing can take your manhood unless you're violent. You can be violated. And that's what happened in a situation with you and a situation with these other young boys. And same thing with women. Their womanhood can be violated. Because I've seen multiple women really, when they want to share something, come up and say, they were molested. They were molested by an uncle. They were molested or raped by a cousin or someone who was a pedophile. I'm talking about. And the one thing about these pedos, because, I told you about the situation I had with encountering a pedophile that I know unequivocally was a pedophile. Was a homosexual and a pedophile and was in the church at that time. And then we're talking about in New Orleans, Louisiana. And it was a guy named Raymond Miles. Anybody from New Orleans, if you from New Orleans and you of my age bracket or even older, I'm 54 now. But he was big, this guy Raymond Miles was big in the church, right? He was a church singer. Now, all of the congregation at that church, all the parishioners knew he was on the funny side. That's what they would say, the funny side, But because he was a great, either played the piano, he either played an instrument, or he was a singer, one of the two. Because when I was young, I didn't get brought up in the church. But a friend of mine, right, he was brought up in the church. And how I encountered this guy named Raymond Miles. He's dead now because his pedophilia got him killed, right? With me and my friend one time, we were out at a party at Aberson. I went to Aberson. We went to Aberson High School, had a party, and we caught the public buses. The buses run and they stop at a certain time. At that time, we were young. We were out there talking to some girls or something. We were out there talking. So we raced to get to the bus stop, but we got there too late, and the last bus for the night had already passed. Now I want to say this, that bus was at 11 something or 12 something, but we missed the bus. So that's about close to a 20-mile walk, maybe 15, 20-mile walk for me and him, right? So we start walking. I'm used to it, but he had to get home because his parents were strict on him about being home at a certain time. I'm halfway raising myself, so I ain't had that problem. But he did. So we were walking, and is not many cars on the street. We were on Sheffman Highway. A car stops and pulls over to us. And I kept stopping, and I saw him run to the car. I'm like, who is that? He was running to the car because he knew he had to get home at a certain time. So he stuck his head. He said, "Hey, Ray, come on, man. I got us a ride." I didn't think nothing of it, of course. But I noticed when he opened the door, he jumps in the back seat, right? So I didn't think, and the guy said, "Come on, sit up here, man." Because I was going to get in the back too. "Come on, sit up here, man. You can sit up here." And now I'm not knowing nothing. My friend, he go to church with him every Sunday. Know he gay as a nightingale. He know what's happening with him. But he let me get in the front, and that's a whole nother thing. I got upset with him behind that. But anyways, as he's bringing us now, he drops my friend off first, and at the next corner, he go drop me off, right? I'm
Hmm.
not saying that he, I'm not saying that he talking to the guy in the back. He talking to Roderick, right? His name Roderick. He talking to him in the back. They talking like everything okay. So I don't know. I don't have a clue about it. So after he dropped, Roderick, hurry up and get out the car, boom, and run, and get out the car and run. And I ain't pay, I said, you can let me out here. And then he said, you want to come over to the house? I said, what? No. Now you got to understand. I'm young, but I'm not the one to be messing with. I wasn't that, that I wasn't Roderick at all. And so
Right.
I got a funny vibe about the whole thing. I could just feel a vibe that wasn't right. And so when he said that, I said, "Oh no, man! Let me out this car right now. If you don't let me out, I'm tell you. If you don't let me out right now, we gonna have some problems up in here." And I made a big old stink. And my next thing was to punch him. He stopped the car, and I got out. And so I was upset about this. Now I had still nobody told me this man was a pedophile or a homosexual. But now I'm so pissed. I'm calling Roger. I'm calling. He never answered the phone. So the next day I went to his house because I was mad. And really, we was gonna have an altercation behind that. And he was like, "Man, I said, man, this dude is a faggot. Is gay. At least, that's what I said.
Hmm.
Excuse the word, but that's what I said at the time." And he was like, "Yeah, man, yeah, I know you, but he never did nothing to me." And I said, "Man, look, this dude propositioned me. He propositioned me, Brian. I told him what happened, and I was upset with him because if had he known that, he should have told me that. He
Hmm.
told me that. So the guy turned out to be just what I thought he was. Then he goes and tell me the extensive history about Raymond Miles being gay. And he's been allowed to sit in the church because of his ability to sing and play instruments. And what the congregation and other parishioners had done was turn a blind eye to his sick activity. And because they did, multiple young men were molested and raped by him until, and anybody know, you can go Google this, his name is Raymond Miles, until he did it to the wrong young men. And they were of the same age. They were 16. I think we had to be about 15 or 16. He picked up the same young men. He thought he was looking for wayward young men out there wandering and walking. He knew the bus had stopped passing, the public bus. So that's how these pedophiles do. They sit and watch the activity of young men and young women, and then they take opportunity to take advantage of them. That's exactly what he did until he did it to the wrong group of young men and they killed him. He was murdered. So that's an example of a pedophile that I ran into. That was
Hmm.
my direct contact with a pedophile. And the initial feeling that I had was that something wasn't right. But because I had somewhat of a fast upbringing, I was able to, as soon as I was able to see, hey, something ain't right. Let me out this car.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And I don't know what he had done to other people, but I know one thing: we wasn't going for that. I wasn't going for that. None of ain't going to your house, none of that. You gonna drop me off, and that's it. And that's how that particular situation went. But when I look back, and many people, if you're from the New Orleans area, you know what I'm talking about. Leave a comment if you knew who Raymond Miles was. Leave a comment. And he was known, and you know that the story that I'm telling you is true. So back to the pedophilia thing. That's an example of a pedophile hiding in plain sight who had already corrupted young people, but because of his position inside of the church, that particular church, if that's what they want to call, I'm not going to even call that place a church. Inside of that particular organization, he was allowed to exist and was allowed to prey upon young men. I mean, that's the disguise of pedophilia. Because other people would talk to that man, and they may have felt that he may be a little feminine, but he's trying to help, and that's how a lot of them try to disguise themselves as though they're trying to help or as though they're trying to do something good. Because like the guy Hassan Campbell, And I'm going back because it reminds me the Raymond Miles story, the encounter that I'm talking about, reminds me of the Afrika Bambaataa story. That's why when I remember I shared it with you,
Yeah.
thing came to my mind because it's a way that they manipulate these young boys and girls through influence. And that's exactly what Afrika Bambaataa did. Now look at this young guy. They call him Poppy. Hassan, the guy Hassan, he
Mm-hmm.
he's struggling with his manhood now. Nobody never told him that, bro, you still a man, brother. What that grown up did to you was not your fault. And for any fool to laugh at it or clown you or try to clown someone who was raped as a child by a pedophile is nothing but a fool and probably a pedophile themselves. Why would you try to clown a man, a young man? I heard the dude Charleston White, man. That's why I can't. These are fools, man. He was clowning the guy, man, calling him all kind of gay faggots and just everything, man. I mean, just using the wrong word. I, apologize for using the word again, but it just slipped out. I'm just saying what he said, right? And these people were trying to make fun of what happened, the abuse that young man went through. And he's a man now. And see, you're playing in dangerous territory.
Yeah.
You don't know if this man can snap now. He's not a homosexual. No. Let me get to this. And I want you to chime in, Drew.
Yeah.
He's not a homosexual. But these people are calling him homosexual because he was molested. Right?
Right.
They put their own understanding around it. Now, the one thing that he was around 6 or 7. He looked at the Afrika Bambaataa as a father figure.
Yeah.
Even after, now this is what may sound baffling. It sounds baffling to me, but as I psychologically thought about it, it does make sense. He as a child he continued a relationship with Afrika Bambaataa on a son-father relation. He thought that he was brainwashed to believe that what was being done to him was not a bad thing. Think about it. I mean, I thought about that now because, I had never been outside of that one event that I just described to everybody concerning the pedophile Raymond Miles, because he was a pedophile. I'm just calling him what he is, what he was. He's gone now, but he was a pedophile. And you got to call these guys out for who they are. R. Kelly, a pedophile. You got to call it for what it is. Those archdiocese pedophiles. I'm looking at the news today, yesterday, or one of them, hit a Dalai Lama. He got his tongue all in a baby's mouth.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Pedophile stuff, man. He got his all in a young boy's mouth. You putting your tongue in the mouth of a young child, another male child. And see, here's the thing. The foolish parents sitting there laughing as though it's something good. That is pedophilia in plain sight. So I want to talk a little bit more about it. We're going to talk about some other characters, but I want to talk about Afrika Bambaataa, and I want to say this. KRS-One, because the young guy, Hassan Campbell, and this is what he said, KRS-One knew about it. It also was possibly involved in some sexual activity with Afrika Bambaataa. See, the thing about these pedophiles, they friends know. They know about them. They know.
Mm-hmm.
They know. And if you go along with it and you allow a child to be taken advantage of by your pedophile friend who ain't worth a quarter, then you just as bad to me. You need to get the same thing he get. You see what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Ruin the lives of young children. And this is why any young man or woman who was ever molested, this channel, we here for you. What it is, that pedophile that's exactly who they were. They were a pedophile. They were a piece of garbage to do that to a child. And that child, whether man or woman, have to struggle with who they are. They know they don't like it. You turn them off. Every time they think of it, it makes them sick. That's what the man was saying. It affected his marriage. But he's determined. I have to give the brother some respect because he's determined to be a father. He's determined to be a husband. He's determined to be a man. So, like I say again to that brother, man, Poppy, brother, you out there, your manhood was only violated and never was taken. And salute to you for having the strength to come out. We pray and hope that the rest of the victims of Afrika Bambaataa come out, and that the rest of y'all in this hip hop culture have enough cojones to stand up. I mean, that's why this culture is weak. It's then got weak because it don't have no real men. It don't have no real women left in it no more. You stand up and say something about it. You don't shut your mouth knowing that he a pedophile because you making money with him. You keeping your mouth closed. You just as guilty. I gotta applaud Fat Joe though. Fat Joe came and said, "Look, I don't know what happened, but if he did it, he's a scumbag. He deserves whatever he get." And that's what all the industry need to be saying it. You don't, because y'all don't know how many lies he done wrecked, man. He ain't, I mean, come on, this is a human being. He ain't big. I think KRS once said something to the effect, and I'm not quoting him, but I'm a paraphrasing that, oh man, forget about that. Let's just concentrate on hip hop and how and that hip hop is bigger than the controversy. No, it's not. Pedophilia is bigger than hip hop. Are you crazy? Are you a fool? I'm calling KRS One a fool because if you didn't, you knew better, man. You know better.
Yeah.
You supposed to be so enlightened. These guys just call themselves whatever. And you don't even have the heart. You don't have the testicular fortitude to stand up for innocence. So you in the bucket with the rest of them, homie. And that's the facts.